A fable about letting go without losing. The Skrikao, short description. A woman trapped by a love that ended years ago receives an unexpected visit from a wise elephant who teaches her that the river can only reach the sea if it first honors the spring. A powerful story about grief, memory, and the freedom that comes not from forgetting but from gratitude. Some loves don't end. They echo. They linger in the corners of empty rooms, in the scent of a forgotten shirt, in the silence between heartbeats. And sometimes, the hardest prison isn't made of walls or chains, it's made of memory. Of a love so deep that even years after it ended, it still holds you captive. But what if I told you that the way out isn't to forget? What if the key to freedom has nothing to do with erasing the past, but with honoring it? Tonight, I want to tell you a story. A story about a woman named Daniela who spent 5 years of her life trapped in a love that had already ended. A story about grief that refused to heal, about a heart that couldn't move forward because it was still looking backward. And a story about an ancient wisdom that came to her in the most unexpected form, a wisdom that taught her that the river can only flow to the sea if it first acknowledges the spring from which it was born. This is not just Daniela's story. This is the story of anyone who has ever loved deeply and lost. Anyone who has ever wondered why time doesn't heal all wounds. Anyone who has ever felt that a part of them is still living in a past that no longer exists. So settle in. Let the world outside grow quiet. And let me take you on a journey through the landscape of the heart. A journey that begins in the shadows of what was and ends in the light of what can still be. Chapter 1. The woman who couldn't let go, Daniela, was 30 years old when she realized she had been living a half-life. From the outside, everything seemed fine. She had a good job as an architect in a mid-sized firm in Denver. She had friends who invited her to dinners and weekend trips. She had an apartment with large windows that let in the Colorado sun, filled with plants she tended with quiet devotion. By all measures, she was successful. She was stable. She was alive. But inside, Daniela felt like a ghost haunting her own existence. Every morning, she woke up with a weight on her chest that had no name. Every evening, she came home to a silence that felt too loud. And every night, before she closed her eyes, the same face appeared in her mind. The same voice echoed in her memory. The same name repeated itself like a prayer she couldn't stop whispering. Marcus. They had met 7 years ago, at a friend's birthday party in a rooftop bar overlooking the city lights. He was a musician, a guitarist who played in a band that was always about to make it. He had dark curly hair that fell across his forehead, and eyes that seemed to hold both laughter and sadness in equal measure. When he smiled at her across the crowded room, Daniela felt something shift inside her chest, as if a door she didn't know existed had suddenly swung open. Their love was the kind that consumes. The kind that makes you feel more alive than you've ever felt, and more terrified of loss than you knew was possible. For 3 years, they were inseparable. They stayed up until dawn talking about their dreams. They drove across the country with no destination, just the open road and each other. They fought with passion and made up with even more. Marcus used to say that Daniela was his muse, the reason he could still believe in beauty. And Daniela used to believe that she had finally found her home, not in a place, but in a person. But homes can crumble, and people can leave. Chapter 2, the ending that never ended. The breakup wasn't dramatic. There was no betrayal, no terrible secret revealed, no moment of explosive anger that shattered everything in its wake. In some ways, that made it worse. Because at least with a clear villain, with a definitive reason, Daniela could have found closure. She could have pointed to something and said, "There, that's why it ended. That's why we couldn't survive." Instead, their ending was quiet. It was slow. It was the gradual erosion of two people who loved each other but wanted different things from life. Marcus's band finally got a record deal, but it required him to move to Los Angeles, to tour for months at a time, to give everything he had to his music. And Daniela, who had just been promoted at her firm, who had finally found stability after years of struggle, couldn't follow him into that uncertain world. She needed roots. He needed wings. On their last night together, they sat on the floor of her apartment, surrounded by half-packed boxes. Neither of them cried. They were too exhausted for tears. Marcus held her hand and said, "I'll always love you. You know that, right?" And Daniela nodded because she did know. That was the cruelest part. The love hadn't died. It had simply become impossible. He left on a Tuesday morning. She watched his car disappear, and something inside her just stopped. 4 years passed. 4 years of pretending to move on, but how do you close a door that was never really shut? She had secret rituals. Once a month, she'd open a wooden box filled with their memories, a concert ticket, old photos, love letters. She'd touch each item, rereading his words until her eyes blurred with tears, just to feel close to him again. She told her therapist she was looking for proof. Proof that it was real, that she was truly loved. She was terrified of who she would be without that proof. One snowy November night, overwhelmed by loneliness, she took out the box again. Staring at a photo of them laughing on a beach, she whispered, "Why can't I let you go?" And then a deep, gentle voice answered, "Because you are trying to forget. And the heart does not know how to forget." If this story resonates with you, hit that subscribe button and comment about a love you still carry. Together, we learn to heal. Now let me tell you what she saw next. The pain you feel is not because you lost Marcus. The pain you feel is because you have not honored what he was to you. You have not thanked the spring for giving birth to the river. You have not acknowledged the gift, and so you remain bound to the giver. How do I honor it? Daniela asked. How do I thank someone who's not here? The elephant's eyes twinkled with ancient knowing. He does not need to receive your gratitude for it to free you. The act of acknowledgement is for your own heart, child. It is the ritual that releases the dam and lets the waters flow again. Chapter 7. The letter that set her free. The elephant stayed with her through the night. He did not speak much more. He simply was a massive, patient presence that filled her small bedroom with warmth and an inexplicable sense of safety. Daniela sat among her scattered memories, thinking about everything he had said. As dawn began to lighten the snow outside her window, she knew what she had to do. She found a piece of paper, not the fancy stationery she used for work, but a simple sheet from a notebook. She picked up a pen, and she began to write. Dear Marcus, I've been holding on to you for 4 years now. Holding on to the memory of you, the feeling of you, the version of me that existed when I was loved by you. I think I believe that if I let you go, I would be letting go of proof that I was once worthy of that kind of love. That I would be erasing the most real thing I ever felt. But tonight, someone wise reminded me that the river doesn't forget the spring just because it flows to the sea. And I think I finally understand. You were my spring, Marcus. You were the beginning of something in me that I didn't know existed. Before you, I didn't believe that love could be both wild and safe at the same time. I didn't believe that someone could see all my shadows and still want to stay in my light. You taught me that I was worth staying for. You taught me that my dreams mattered. You taught me that I could feel things deeply without drowning in them. I'm not writing this letter to get you back. I'm not writing it because I think we made a mistake by ending things. We wanted different lives, and that's okay. That doesn't make what we had any less real or any less precious. I'm writing this letter to say thank you. Thank you for loving me the way you did. Thank you for the 3 years of feeling more alive than I ever had before. Thank you for believing in me when I couldn't believe in myself. Thank you for showing me what it feels like to be someone's home. I'm going to keep those memories. I'm going to carry them with me like the river carries the mountain spring, not as a weight, but as a source. Not as chains, but as roots. But I'm also going to let you go now. Not because I want to forget you, but because I want to honor what you gave me by actually living the life you inspired me to believe I could have. Wherever you are, I hope you're happy. I hope your music is everything you dreamed it would be. I hope someone is making you feel as seen as you made me feel. Thank you, Marcus, for everything.